Hey everyone, Paller here, and welcome back. Today I want to talk about EA's big steaming pile of shit they left on stage for their E3 presentation. I'm going to do this though probably in a way that's a bit different from a lot of other content creators. There's going to be a lot of people that come along and they're going to go trailer by trailer, information by information through the E3 trailer, or EA E3 presentation, and they're going to tear it apart. And I'm going to agree with most what everybody else says. The whole presentation was just bad. It really was. They spent half their time on FIFA and Madden. The Mass Effect information was just pointless. The Star Wars information was just awful. There was only one new reveal that nobody expected, and that was an indie title. And it looks to be a pretty good indie title, but there's not a whole lot of excitement there. Yeah, I agree with all that stuff, and I do believe that the E3 presentation overall was bad. Let me be clear with that up front. I think it was really bad. What I want to do, though, is I want to look at it from a larger standpoint. I want to step back and just kind of take in what they did, because I do think there were some very intended changes in this presentation. Changes that were made at the behest of at least a vocal portion of the gaming community. What do I mean by this? Well, go back and look at last year, the year before. Let's look at the last 5 years of E3 presentations. There were several common themes that started to come out of them. Very common complaints that the trailers, be them completely CGI, like animated movies, or in-game modified trailers, gameplay, but in a cut form that doesn't look good. Anyway, there was complaints that these trailers were not representative of the final product. There were also complaints that the products we were seeing wouldn't be playable for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. This was really common. Ubisoft is probably the biggest offender here. If you look at Watch Dogs, from the time Watch Dogs was revealed till we actually got to play it, it was like 4 years. And then you went through the graphics downgrades and the cut elements of the story, not the story, but the gameplay elements that were cut. The Division went through this. Some of this was even thrown at Witcher 3 and its graphics downgrade. There was a lot of pushback from these CGI trailers. Then there's also the pushback from the delays. And finally, there was a lot of pushback against the industry buzzwords. There was a lot of people that are like, we don't buy this salesman jargon that you're throwing at us from these presentations. We want our information from the people we actually trust. Be that video game journalists, which I think have kind of lost some, but that's a different discussion for another time, but more the content creators of today, the YouTubers, the Twitch streamers, Adam Sessler personality type people, but grander. We want our information from them because we're not going to buy it from these schmucks up on stage just throwing out a sales presentation. That's what they're doing. So there were all these big complaints coming out of the last few E3s. What does EA do? Well, it appears they actually listened to that, and they tried to give us the presentation we were asking for. They focused very heavily. Their presentation was focused on games that are going to be playable in the next 12 months. Titanfall this holiday season. Battlefield this holiday season. Madden's going to be coming out here sometime in the next 3 months. FIFA's out soon. Those are what that is. For the other games, the Star Wars games and the Mass Effect games, they did have small trailer type things around them, but it was very little. It wasn't anything that could be construed. It was more of a, here's where we're at, here's a bit of the backstory, this is kind of what you can hope for coming forward. Then they went ahead, they took the games that are playable, they put them in the hands of the content creators, and we should be seeing a lot of videos in the next, again, 72 hours or so from people that sat down and played Battlefield 1. And that's going to be much better for us, the consumer, than some CGI trailer or stage presentation, isn't it? In the long run, isn't knowing, for me, if I'm going to go to one of them, it'll be Matimio. I want Matimio's opinion on what he played at Battlefield 1. And to me, that is going to be far more useful information than anything they could have shown me on the stage itself. So what went wrong here? Because clearly, like I said, everything they did was an answer and well-intended answer, but something just fell apart. Well, I think you can kind of look to Bethesda for that one, as there is a happy middle ground. We do we as consumers, as gamers, as fans, we do want a bit of hype. We want realistic hype, but we do want a bit of hype. And I think this is where EA by far failed the biggest. Where were any unexpected new releases? Again, look at Bethesda. They opened up with Quake. There were some ideas that a new Quake might be coming. You know, there were some rumors, but no one knew for sure there was a new Quake. We had no real solid proof of that. And then they also threw a Prey in there. Prey was unknown. They threw that in there. And there had been, again, some rumors that Prey was being redone from what we had seen a few years ago. But again, it was basically a new reveal. So there were new trailer-type reveals within it. EA needed a few of those. They really did. They needed these unknowns, these exciting things that when we step away, we already know Battlefield 1. You've probably already made the decision if you're going to buy Battlefield 1 or not. You've probably made that decision well before that E3 trailer went up. The idea of Battlefield in World War I either appeals to you or doesn't. No CGI trailer was going to get you excited or not if you weren't already there. But a trailer for some new IP or something would have been great. So, tell us something new beyond an indie title that we haven't seen before. Then we have something to talk about, something to say, oh, look what EA's doing here. None of that. I just don't understand. Maybe they don't have any of those games. You know, it's entirely possible. EA does seem to be playing it a bit safer now than they have in the past. Maybe they just aren't pushing new IPs anymore. It's possible. It seems disappointing if that's what they're doing, but I can't rule it out. But boy, oh boy. Sometimes we as a consumer, we ask for something, and when we finally get it, we realize we really didn't know what it was we were asking for. It just was so boring and disappointing. I don't want to defend them. I really don't. Because, you know, they're a big corporation. They don't need defense. But I can look at it and see they kind of were in an almost no-win situation here. You know, if they gave us the presentations like they did last year or the year before, we were going to complain about it. But they give us this, and we're going to complain about it. And the fan in my attic just kicked in, and boy, is it making some noise. I don't know if you guys can hear that on the mic. I'll have to go up and smack it with a wrench, throw some oil on it. Man, I hope the other companies do better. Bethesda's presentation, in my opinion, wasn't that good either. I don't think it was all that good. But it was definitely better than EA's. I see what EA did, and I in some way feel sympathetic towards them. Like, here's a company that, in my opinion, is really trying quite hard. You know, if you go back, was it last year? I guess it was 2 years ago now. Dragon Age Inquisition was supposed to be their big holiday launch. They moved it completely into the next year out of the holiday window because it wasn't complete. That was not something EA of 5 years ago would have done. EA of 5 years ago would have just put it out there, patched up post-process, and be like, people don't know what's good or what's not good. They would have just put it out there. They moved Hardline out of the holiday window into the next year because it was not ready. EA actually had a very poor, I think it was 2014 Christmas. They had a very poor 2014 Christmas lineup because they were willing to bounce games that weren't ready for launch. That is not the EA we know. That is not the normal EA, or not the old EA. That's the new EA. And I see this company that is really listening to feedback from us as gamers. They're doing a lot to improve Origin. They're giving away free games over there. They're trying to increase the sales. They're doing things that are consumer friendly, yet all we do is shit on them because we don't like that either. None of this means that their E3 presentation was good. It was not. But, you know, I kind of appreciate a company that's at least trying to be consumer friendly. Out of the big ones, your Microsoft, your Sony, your Activision, EA, Ubisoft, I think EA has made the most strides for being a consumer friendly company that listens to its consumers and is taking into account our feedback. And then they do this. Oh man, was it bad. I don't know. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Am I looking too much into this? I tend to do that sometimes. I think too much about it. Am I giving them, I'm not giving them a pass, but am I maybe going too light on them? What did you think? Maybe you loved their E3 presentation. I doubt it, but maybe you did. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Until next time, this has been Paler. Thanks for watching.